This morning, straightforward, punching. Why? Because people talk about how much the military should be appreciated, how much they should be valued. And I'm going to throw this question straight at you.
Go ahead.
Why should the Nigerian military be appreciated?
Thank you very much. It's nice to have a Remembrance Day every 15th of January to remember the people who have paid the supreme price for this country. And that's what we do on the 15th of January every year. And before I answer that question about expectations in spite of the limitations, let me give you a small background to the Nigerian Army and the Armed Forces. Yes, Nigerian Army used to be part of the Royal West African Frontier Force in the days of old, and gradually grew to be what we know today as our Nigerian Army. Now, what have we done in the past? The Nigerian Army was in the Second World War. We fought everywhere. We were in Congo, we were in Tanganyika, we were in the Far East, and in all these operations we did successfully. After the wars, the world wars, we came back, we fought the Civil War, we took part in the Bakassi War, we were out there in West Africa, keeping peace and enforcing peace in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Mali, in Gambia, and we have also taken part in various UN missions. Now the question is, did we do well on such occasions? Yes, because we were acclaimed by the UN for doing what other countries couldn't do. In fact, we were the first country to enforce peace when there was no peace to be kept in Liberia. So from my perception, the Armed Forces of Nigeria had done well in the past. Now coming to the present, which is the war behind us in our backyard against insurgency. What are the expectations of Nigeria from the Armed Forces of Nigeria? Like any other armed forces, the citizens want you to go to battle and win. And that's all. There is no middle way. There is no half measure. You must go there, conquer, and come back. But it's strange here because for you to send soldiers to the war front to defend you, you must ensure that you have everything possibly available to make them do the job and come back to tell you, we have conquered, we are successful. But the situation we find ourselves here right now is that the armed forces does not possess the required equipment and capabilities to tackle what we have on ground. It's a modern day war which requires a lot of technology which we don't produce locally. So what do? We need to import those things, and it costs money. It's a lot of money. To me, if we had declared that we are at war, in fact, the world organizations have declared that Nigeria is at war currently, but we Nigerians have not accepted that we are at war. Because if we are really at war, every energy, every resources must be directed towards conquering this insurgency we have in our hands. So to me, I would say, based on the limitations that we have, I think our men have done gallantly well.
Interesting. We have with us again retired Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun with us as we take a look at the issue of the Nigerian military. Of course, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day was yesterday, and we're asking the question, has the military lived up to expectations in spite of limitations? Now, just before 1960, before Nigeria gained independence, there were lots of expectations for Nigeria, not just from Nigerians, but also the global community because of Nigeria's vast population, Nigeria's natural resources as well, and human resources. There were massive expectations for the country Nigeria would become. But from 1960 till date, how much has the Nigerian military evolved? You just talked about the fact that we don't produce arms and ammunition locally. How come we haven't evolved to that level where we can't even produce anything?
I would say it's the Nigerian factor. The Nigerian factor in the sense that we do more of paperwork and less of actions. In the military, if we set our mind to achieving something, we'll go ahead and achieve that. But when you come into the civil, it takes all this bureaucracy to get things done. And in our society, it's not every paper you put forward that our civil authorities approve. So you must follow them at their pace. The military since 1960 till date, especially before the insurgents, we had done very well, and we could have developed more than this. But then we did not take our chances when we had them. If you go back in history, you will see that the Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria was created about the same time that of Brazil. Our DIC today is still like what it was at inception. But when you go to the DIC in Brazil, they have evolved. They have gone as far as producing aircraft. We are limited. And the reason is that a lot of bureaucratic processes are involved in anything the military wants to do. And we are slow in nature to reacting. There are benefits of war. Nobody wants war. But world over, during wars, a lot of development take place.
Yes.
But here, we see those developments and we don't build on them. I'll take you to the Biafran War.
Okay, sorry to cut you short at this, but I was going to ask you, during the Biafran War of 1966 to 1970, the Biafran army, because they had limited resources, they were able to build some, if not all, of the equipments they used during the war. How come Nigeria did not take advantage of that after the war?
Yes, I was young then, but I grew up to know that we don't develop what we have. And that's why those things have almost died, because somebody came up with an idea and it worked. I think the best thing we will have done is pick it up from there and take it to the next level, but we never did. So all the Ogunigwes, everything they were doing during Biafran War was forgotten immediately after the war. During the war was penicillin. Common penicillin, developed during the wars as an immediate treatment for wounded soldiers until they are taken to a better hospital. A lot of technological advances in the world today started with the military.
Yes, the internet, for example.
Yes, what can we showcase after going everywhere to keep peace, to enforce peace? Nothing. I think we should have a different orientation for that.
We should have a different orientation for that. Now, when you talked about the different wars and peacekeeping missions the Nigerian military has been involved in over the years, and the level of commendation they've gotten from both the UN and the AU over the years. But you then turn around and ask yourself the question, we have a war in our backyard, in the northeast, and if the Nigerian military is as good as said by these international bodies, how come the fight against Boko Haram has taken this long?
Okay, I'm not trying to advertise this, but then I have to say, we forget yesterday. We forget yesterday because you don't go to school to go and buy experience. You grow it, you learn it every day. Now we've taken part in all these operations everywhere. What are the lessons learned? How have we put the lessons to use now that we have the challenge under our roof? In those UN, AU, and ECOWAS missions, we were acclaimed, we were honored. In fact, I want to put it straight that we don't blow our trumpets loud enough, because we are the first country before the US that conducted peace enforcement operations in Liberia. It was when it started working that we finally got the mandate to continue. And after that, the coalition went to the Gulf and did peace enforcement. But if you check anywhere on the internet, you will not see Nigeria listed against peace enforcement. When we returned President Kaba, that was ousted in the coup in Sierra Leone, we were the first to do that. He was returned to power through the Nigerian Armed Forces. And we returned him, and everybody came and said, well done. So my take on this is that we don't study what happened yesterday to know the mistakes, the successes recorded, and how to put them to good use. I think if we go back and look at what we did in Liberia and Sierra Leone, and the lessons we learned there, it might help us in the current challenge.
Still talking about the fight against insurgency, especially that against Boko Haram, and is it more of a case of, because you still paint, the picture you still paint of the Nigerian military is, very glowing, of the things they were able to achieve, especially in peacekeeping missions outside of Nigeria, but still juxtaposing that to the fight against Boko Haram. Now, do you think, because I won't lie to you, some Nigerians that I've interacted with seem to think that we probably don't have the capacity, we probably don't have the competence, the military competence to deal with the insurgents. So, but from your own personal perspective, do you think it is more of a lack of capacity, or it's more of a lack of, I would say, ammunition, so to speak?
They are all combined. So when I still said we must look back, some of these issues came up then. How did we overcome these issues? Now, I will not say that we don't have the capacity. What is the Northeast compared to Liberia, where we fought throughout, compared to Sierra Leone, that we knew every inch on the ground in Sierra Leone? From Freetown to everywhere, we covered the whole country.
So what then is the problem now?
Now, history, study. But I think the tactics being adopted today is not getting us the results.
So tactics?
Tactics.
Do you think we
strategy?
Yes, I understand what you mean by that. But do you think we have enough? We also seen videos of soldiers in war fronts talking about not having enough arms and ammunition, not being paid the allowances now.
Okay. Now I'll take you to motivations. For anything you do in life, you have to be motivated,
of course,
to doing that. Then you give it everything. Yes, the military, once we enlist, we sign a blank check to Nigerians that we will give everything, including our lives. If need be, we will. But along the line, you need people to be pepped up, psychologically, emotionally, to keep that momentum, to maintain the vision, to maintain the course. Now, we encourage other people in Nigeria to achieve similar feats for the country. Let me take footballers, for example. You are playing a game against Germany. How do you encourage your boys to win Germany? Some motivating things. Some guys will come up and say, if you score 1 goal, I'm going to give you $100,000. If you score 2 goals, I'm going to give you $500. And then they come back and they are honored. They are given houses, their streets are named after them, cash reward, honors. And that's why I said the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, to me, is not complete yet, because we only honor the dead. What about the living? Who are still, some of them are living with the scars of war and silent injuries that you and I cannot see.
Okay, we'll talk about what the Nigerian government can do for servicemen. All right, and so you were going to make a point about what the government, has done or hasn't done for, servicemen and ex-servicemen who are still alive, because it will appear as though the emphasis, lay more with, the servicemen who are no longer with us here on Earth. But what do you think? On the news today, on our flagship news bulletin at 7, we had some widows of some of the slain military men who also talked about what they want the government to do for them, because according to them, that they gather in Abuja and some other parts of the country every 15th of January of every year, but according to them, that's more or less all they get. And of course, sponsorship, scholarships for their kids in school. But what more do you think the government can do, especially for those servicemen who are still alive?
Yeah, thank you. We started with motivation, and I was comparing a football team, Flying Eagles or Super Eagles for that, and we promise them a lot. And then they go and achieve, and they come back, we honor them. If I may bring this, which I will try, what is the motivating factor behind Boko Haram? Because for somebody to be ready to die, he must look back and say, when I'm gone, what happens to my wife? What happens to my children? In the case of Boko Haram, their ideology is that they are ready to die for the cause. And that the reward they get is that when they die during the cause, heaven is assured. When they kill, they are guaranteed how many virgins?
I'm not sure of that. Well, hold on for a second. All right, it's time for me to introduce the other guests that we have in the studio. Bonaventure Mela, he's the managing editor of the Daily Times of Nigeria. He's joined us on the show this morning. It's a pleasure to have you on Talk Nigeria again. Good morning. All right, we have been talking about the Nigerian military as it concerns the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. And the question we're asking this morning is, has the Nigerian military lived up to expectations in spite of limitations? So I will throw that question right at you, Mr. Mera. Has the Nigerian military lived up to expectations in spite of the limitations they've encountered?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to join the government and all women in Nigeria to congratulate the Nigerian military, and then to pray also for the peaceful repose of the souls of the fallen heroes. That is joining the mood of the nation. Every soldier that is part of the military is somebody's husband or somebody's wife or somebody's child
or somebody's brother.
And as we speak in the studio, some people are facing gun right on their faces. They may die in the next 1 minute. So the soldier is a human being that is so much at risk. So there is no way we will not commend them for what they are doing. They are doing tremendous work and all that. However, Nigeria, the failure, if there are failures, and I think there are failures, areas that the Nigerian military has failed, most of these areas are not directly the fault of the fighting soldier. They are directly from those who craft policies, government, from the presidents, not really this particular president, all of them, to be very frank, down to the military high command. That is separating this from the fighting soldiers. When Nigeria, like I was listening while I was driving, Air Commodore Abayomi was actually succinctly putting it, what Nigeria's military has achieved internationally. Yeah, it's great. But for me, most of those achievements were wish-wash, because you've gone to Sierra Leone, you've gone to this country, you've gone to this, you've gone to that. At times, Nigeria was having serious financial and economic crisis, and we were wasting money, for me, quote and unquote. Now, if you want to invest money on something, you went to Sierra Leone, you went to this, what do you want to achieve as a nation? What is the perception? How do these countries perceive Nigeria today? Do Sierra Leoneans respect Nigerians? Liberians, do they respect Nigerians? Even Cameroon, if Nigeria has helped so many other African countries to achieve peace, what have we achieved through that process? What have we achieved? Small countries like Cameroon will make incursion into our country. If they respect us as a country that their military is very strong based on our international exploits, I don't think they will be insulting us from Bakassi and some of those areas and other. But in all, yes, Nigerian military has done where there are so many mistakes. I will speak about the Northeast issue. This Northeast issue, for me, the reason why the Northeast issue exists is the hypocrisy of government. I respect President Goodluck Jonathan a lot, but his administration actually made very big mistake. Colin Powell was the commander of the Joint Task Force during the Operation Desert Storm in Iraq. After that, he propounded what they call it Colin Powell's philosophy of war. Now, what America do today is this: if you come and attack America, and your fighting force or your capacity is 200 soldiers, for example, America will say that you have 2,000 soldiers fighting them, or that your threat is up to 2,000. When your threat is up to 200, America will say your threat is up to 2,000, and they will mobilize the world to believe that you have power to threaten up to 2,000 capacity, so that when America is coming after you, they will bring 1 million capacity. When they descend on you, you are down. Now, but when our own, what Jonathan did, when the Boko Haram escalated, it didn't start with Jonathan. When it escalated, instead of Jonathan to say that war has been declared against Nigeria, he said it's a small attack group that will be taken out very soon. So when you give that impression that this, in fact, if Jonathan was bold enough, he would have said that the Northeast declared war against Nigeria.
All right.
If we have taken it from that perspective, there would have been serious mobilization to crush that thing.
All right, but Mr. Mela, let's take some messages. We have some messages. Okay. Now, this one says, I obviously agree to your guest's assertion. The Nigerian soldiers have made huge sacrifice but got little or nothing in return. Take a look at the wounded soldiers in the Northeast. Information reaching us that government have abandoned them. Allowances are not paid, promotion is delayed, and like the guest said, take a look at how the Super Eagles are being motivated each time they are set for a match. And the military, especially those fighting the insurgents, they need motivation, and what the government is doing is not enough. These guys need complete attention from the Nigerian government, ACLO in Kefi. Same scenario. So, Mr. Miller, I'll stick with you with this question. Do you think the Nigerian military is being underappreciated? Despite the shortcomings, but do you think the Nigerian military is being underappreciated?
Well, first of all, what is the purpose of setting the military? Is to fight external aggression, to safeguard territorial integrity of Nigeria. Yes, like I said, the fighting soldiers have done very well. But as a nation, Nigeria has given so much to the military to fight with. The military high command, if you check their budgets for the past 10 years, is so much. What is happening to the military that they don't have equipment? If you follow the social media trend, you see soldiers complaining, we don't have anything to fight with, though. They are just this, that, you understand me? So the soldier, the Nigerian fighting soldier in the field is a hero. And most times, he is not appreciated enough, because he is not motivated and all that. Even if he suffers injuries or suffers death, his family is not well compensated. But the military as a whole, as a corporate organization, has taken so much from Nigeria, and they have not really given so much, because we have not really fought major external wars. No country has confronted Nigeria to say, fight with us. So we've not really seen Nigerian soldiers. Look at what is happening in Zamfara. Look at what is happening in Taraba. Look at what is happening all the areas where
but Mr. Mela, despite all of this, despite all of this, do you think, despite all of this now that you said, do you think the Nigerian military is underappreciated, or you think they are getting just about what they deserve?
I don't think the Nigerian military is underappreciated. Nigerians appreciate the military. They respect the soldiers. They respect the military as an organization. But what I'm trying to say is that the president says that the people who are attacking Nigerians are from outside. That is supposed to be the primary function of the military, to ensure that no external aggressor enters Nigeria. So if they are sitting down and they are seeing people enter through Zamfara, enter through Taraba, enter through wherever, and then they are killing Nigerians, That means that their function, because what they are doing inside Operation Python Dance, yes, appreciated, because criminals will get scared of that these things are happening, that soldiers are within this area and all that. And their primary function, number one, is to ensure that they safeguard the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Many people are entering Nigeria and they are killing Nigerians, different states, and the military is not actually adequately tackling that as a corporate organization.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to pose this question now to Mr. Dauda, who
Yes.
is a lecturer of political science
Yes.
from the National Open University of Nigeria. Now, if the current trend continues with the Nigerian military, what are the implications from a political point of view? What are the implications for Nigeria?
Yeah. Well, if I may ask, if you say this particular trend, what do you mean by that? So that
From what Mr. Miller have just said, the fact that the fight against the Boko Haram terrorists has lasted for about 10 years now, and we're yet to defeat it. And when you go on social media, sometimes you see some soldiers complaining of not having enough arms and ammunition to fight, of not being paid the allowances and all that. So if we have that trend continue, what are the implications from a political standpoint for Nigeria?
Yes, of course, social eco-political development will be affected. But however, let me be quick to make one observation. This my colleague talked about the involvement of Nigerian military forces in the international mission and what Nigeria have gained from that. We must understand that the world has become a global village. And from the time immemorial, man preferred the life of association to the life of isolation. Therefore, there's no nation of the world that can exist in isolation. And development itself is contingent, just as social unrest is contingent. If there's war in Cameroon, for instance, you have challenge in Nigeria. Yes. And that is why there is always a network of international community to ensure that whenever there is unrest in any part of the world, it is quenched so that there will be peace within the global system. And again, illegal immigration is not the primary functionality of the armed forces. We must also take note of that. That's the primary responsibility of the immigration to do that. So we must put things in proper perspective. So use that as a perspective for the evaluation of Nigerian armed forces. I don't think we are fair to them from that point of view. Now, coming to your question, if that trend should continue, of course it will affect political development, it will affect economic development, it will affect social development, because it will affect the confidentiality of national and international investors in the political system. And you agree with me that where there is no investment, development cannot be in place. Yes, so there is need, and let me be quick to say this, sir. Validity of the source of information is very key in analysis and informing our perception. And that is why we must be very careful about the information on social media. Because some of the information on social media, I tell you from unverified sources, are not true. And this thing, it causes tension in the polity.
Okay, but when you say they're not true, I'm trying to understand what you mean, because if, for example, a soldier comes out, does a video of himself and says that he's not been paid or he doesn't have arms and ammunition to fight, should we ignore that?
That shouldn't be ignored. But for instance, when you have 200 soldiers, for example, and you saw a video of one, and you take that as your sample size to generalize, sir, the result of that perception.
So it's not a case of generalization, but when you look at, I think the retired Commodore here can help us out in this case. When you look at situations like this, I mean, I really can't say for certain how the military hierarchy thing works, but I know that at some point, some of them might be scared of the implications, of coming out to say such things, and they could even get court-martialed, if they are found wanted in situations like that. Don't you think that might encourage quite a large number of them from coming out to actually speak out, even if they are facing these issues?
Thank you. You see, a platform like this, Nigerians are listening. So we have to be careful of what we say. And since
excuse me.
Sorry.
No, please.
Mr. Miller, hold on.
So we have to be careful. If the authenticity of the information cannot be established, we should be reserved.
When you say authenticity, I still ask the same question again. If someone who is in the military comes out and makes these claims, I don't know how authentic you want it to be again. But let's listen to Mr. Mela. I think he has a point too.
Yes, the military is doing very crucial job, very important job that should be commended, like I've said earlier. I don't like it when people come and be giving out warnings. People should be careful what they say, as if there is, look, let me tell you something. There is an organ of the military that is responsible for dishing out information on what is right and what is wrong, and they are doing very, very well concerning it. Now, but let me tell you something. For what happened like 2 weeks ago, when from the social media or from the press, it was reported that Baga has been taken by Boko Haram. And then the military said, no, there was nothing like that. After about 8 days, the military now said, kudos, Nigerian military has taken over Baga in total. So what are you saying? If you say from the beginning that Baga was not taken, later you say, yes, we have successfully taken over Baga. That is contradiction. The issue is this: the social media has come to stay. I am the managing editor of the Times newspaper. Before anything will go into our paper, we will filter it very well to know that whether those information, that kind of information, agrees with the 5 Ws and 1 H. Who say this? But the social media is a partner. Though there are so many things that come from the social media that is not authentic.
Yes.
But I'm telling you that the social media is playing very strategic role, very crucial role, because with the social media, people are finding it difficult to hide what they normally hide. You see, they are looking at, excuse me, one second.
We're running out of time.
Yes, you are looking at military or Nigeria or security. If you know what social media has contributed in exposing wars, excuse me, in exposing crimes like people killing their wives, people, excuse me, yeah, so what I'm trying to say is this: so many people that are being killed for ritual purposes that police arresting is from social media that you get those things, because from social media you now find out that what you cannot do is
Mr. Mela, there's a question I want to pose to the retired Commodore, but one thing that I have to say is this: one thing we should understand is it's not just about getting news items from social media. You need to understand that the media have also got sources.
Sure.
You know, these guys in the field out there, fighting the insurgents, they are not isolated from, they have, like you said, they have siblings, they have wives, they have parents. So it's not like they don't have people they talk to. So even if they don't come on social media to say it, they can confide in friends, they can confide in relatives, in siblings. So sometimes you get your information from those sources. So it's not until they come on social media and say it. I just cited social media as a case in point. But the question I want to ask the retired Commodore is this: do you think, based on the analysis, because obviously both of them do not agree, both based on the analysis both of them have given, do you think Nigerians have been fair to the military?
Not fair enough. Now, but before I go into that, let me just say I'm going to summarize what I feel I understand from the two of them.
Thank you.
The constraints faced by the armed forces, and then the implications of the inactions. So the constraints, I will just list them out small, and then we can talk about them. The first one is funding. Yes, we are wondering why is it that we don't have this equipment. This job is supposed to be a job of 1 week, it's turned into a job of 10 years. First thing, you did not declare war, which Mr. Mela said. Did we agree that we were at war? From the beginning, we did not agree. I don't even know right now whether we have finally agreed that we are at war. If we agree that we are at war and accept the implications, more funding is required. You talk about the budget, how much has been spent on the military. It depends on what you are buying. We have placed order for how many Tucanos now? It's coming in 2014. But that's our hope. What happened between now and that's 2014.
2024.
Should we 2024? Should we go and sleep? No. But before the Tucano come, there are other things that we could do to finish this thing. But if they are not there, like I was saying, in Nigeria today, the budget for defense is less than 1% of our GDP. That's a country at war who has refused to accept that we're at war. South Africa, that has not been in any war since apartheid, spends over 1% of their GDP on defense. How do you expect to have the same kind of equipment that they have? The next one, quickly, is still equipment which is tied to funding. Sometimes our political masters will write to them, this is what we need to do this job. However, we can't do the job because the funding you will hear from the federal government, we have approved so amount. Has the approval turned to cash? Can we use it? Can we access it? No. So the job gets delayed. The next one, which you mentioned, is strength, the manpower. Because the police and the armed forces were recruited for two different things. The army is to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria,
Yes.
where the police is to protect we the citizens inside the country.
Yes.
But today, 30 out of 36 states in Nigeria has the presence of the armed forces. Where do you get the manpower from? The same manpower you need to conquer Boko Haram is what we have spread all over Nigeria.
So, Air Commodore, we have to go now because we're out of time. But I'm just going to put one last question to you based on the last statement you made.
Yeah.
30 out of 36 states have got the presence of the armed forces.
Yes.
Based on that,
Yeah.
do you think maybe a state of emergency should be declared
Where?
across board?
Across the country?
Yes.
It depends on the political masters.
So, do you think so? Personally?
No.
Okay, so let's take this message before we end the show today. This one says, please, I'm not satisfied with the answer of your guest. Sir, the soldiers in the war front have not gotten enough motivation to conquer this criminal group called Boko Haram. My understanding about motivation is to keep them with all army uniforms, give them sophisticated weapons, take care of their families, the families they left behind, give the soldiers national award. Please, your guest should not debunk the poor weapons given to the soldiers. May your guests explain to us the reason why the governor of Borno cried out. Okay, I guess he was referring to what Mr. Dauda said, but unfortunately we won't have time for him to respond because we're really out of time. Just want to run through these messages before we say our goodbyes this morning. This one says, may God strengthen Nigeria's armed forces with the advent of ICT. Why is it difficult to create a device to put the Sambisa on a 24-hour watch to put us above the insurgents? Sir, is it wrong to evacuate Nigerians from the border towns to give effective fighting ground? Amos from Ganki. Said that this one says, please, the government calling IPOP terrorists, is it in order or not? This Nigeria military is the strongest in Africa. No group can stand out to defeat this Nigerian army. Our elites keep benefiting from massive crisis. Mr. Chris, God bless Nigeria. I don't blame the army. They obey the last order, and when they're out from their bag, that means the politicians have work for them. The politicians calling these guys to be held responsible. You didn't tell us your name or where you sent in the text message from. But that's the last contribution we'll take on the show this morning. Talk Nigeria and greetings on 5.7. I have to say a very big thank you to you, gentlemen, for coming first. Retired Air Commodore Abami Balogun for coming on the show and sharing your insights with us. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
We do appreciate you. And also to Mr. Abdul Dauda, who is a lecturer of political science at the National University of Nigeria. Thank you very much for your time. And as well, Mr. Bonaventure Mela, who is the managing editor of the Daily Times of Nigeria. Thank you very much for making our time to be on the show today.
Thank you, Abuja.
Thank you very much. All right, guys, we'll do this again same time tomorrow, Thursday, right here on Greetings on 5.7. My name is Chris Ogogo. Stay tuned. The midday show begins with Olije. Good morning.